Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Waking up for a bit of a lazy later Sunday morning over here from a bright and sunny Helsinki, Finland. Got my morning walk in and ready to discuss some long-term price action for good old Bitcoin. Today's going to be a bit more of a special video as I want to document the three biggest things that I'm looking for to denote a potential macro low, high probability of a macro low in this asset, meaning that it will shift my biases, personally speaking, to looking for long-term longs, and it will be rather welcomed, I imagine, by this market. Before we get into that, I want to give a very special shout out to Mr. Abraham Lennon. It's his birthday today. So enjoy, good sir, the big 3-1. And with that in mind, let's get into the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. And there's actually a link to the description below if you do not understand my spelling out of this. It's 100% free, by the way, as well. And to my knowledge, it is the most free content that you can possibly get on the internet that gives you quant data, market data, underlying market dynamics, and all that good stuff for, again, the price of quite literally zero. Anyways, with that said, there's not going to be a humongous focus on the short-term time frames today. Maybe we'll just, look at it a little bit, just kind of keep things a little bit more current and give us something to chew on for the next 24 hours since until we do the next live stream. But for now, I do want to say what else? What else do we see? Well, we see pretty much everything is the same on the dashboard right here. I should denote we do have a sale going on, 20% off of everything. Of course, do not rush into anything right now. Just watch the videos that accompany the programs. That'll tell you who they're for, who they're not for, what to expect, all that good stuff, and then make an educated decision for yourself. What I'd also say is perhaps we will swing back to this later in this video. I want to make sure that this is like kind of under 20 minutes, but with that in mind, we don't really have too much focus on this today. I want to actually point out one other big thing right here. So I saw one of the people that I follow on Twitter, Mr. Cantorine Clark, really great guy. He retweeted this, so this is how I found this out, and I just wanted to kind of bring this back into the visual view because I've seen this many a time where a lot of very smart people will create a strategy, as you can see right here, with a 99% win rate, which can survive for quite some time, but after some time, you will inevitably get a 10 sigma event. They do have a non-zero probability. Of course, a black swan is always a possibility, just a low probability. It's just a matter of time before one of those crazy things happens. So just a humble and casual reminder to always manage your risk. That never goes out of the equation, unfortunately, and we just learn to love it. So with that in mind, let's get on over into the price action charts themselves. And should we talk about low-term timeframes first? No, we'll save that for the end. All right. Here are the three things that I like to see in order to denote a potential macro low in Bitcoin. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm the furthest thing from it. But what I will say is the first and most important one for me to even consider the possibility of a macro low in place, meaning that Bitcoin price very likely never goes lower, is the hash ribbons indicator right here. Anytime that we do see a blue buy signal on this, it has denoted that the prior low before that was the macro low. All of the situations where this all 11 situations of this happening, of this indicator firing off on the blue buy signal, have been correct except for one. So it has a very good hit rate, and the one iteration where it did not work was actually, well, quite literally the black swan event. So, another humble reminder, manage your risk. Anyway, so what I've done right here is I've actually gone back and marked off every single one so that you can see them on price action and on the indicator down here. In fact, for this demonstration, do I want to get rid of this just so that we can easily see this? Sure, there we go. Okay, lovely. All right, so again, I've just put a horizontal line where all of the blue buy signals are, and I just want to go over them with you so that you can kind of see how this would operate in real time. So the last time we got a blue buy signal right on over here, of course, these are, I should also mention, these are terrible timers of buys and sells, by the way, just by the way, but we're going to come up with a plan with it, of course. And so we do see this one right here it happens right on the 1st of December, in fact, of the year 2020. And what does this give us the buys for? At least what does this suggest within the historical relevancy of Bitcoin? The prior low before that was the macro low before, well, in this case, not returning to it thus far. Don't hold your breath on that. Who knows? But at the end of the day, this was the prior low at $17,000 or so. And while Bitcoin did come back down and test around there, you can see that it did put in a higher low, and then it was off to the races for that whole move, basically from about $18,000 to, our all-time high now of $65,000 or so, quite impressive, right? Anyways, we have several other iterations other than that. We are going to go through all of them today together, and we have the next one right here on the 11th of July in the year 2020. Again, very, very similar thing. Terrible timer, terrible timer, but once we get this blue buy signal, the prior local low, or the prior higher low in this case, was the macro low before never returning to that thus far. We see it right here, or I guess you'd actually put it right here. It's kind of a complex low, but basically about $9,000. As you can see after that, well, off to the races. Does come back down and test relatively soon, relatively close around that region, but no closures below, and the next higher low right here at about 9,100, not that far away, was, well, what was that last chance, essentially. Then we have another example right here, this one coming after the coronavirus dump, of course, in March and April. And we get the blue buy signal on the 23rd of April right here. And where's our last higher low before that? Right here at about 6,800 bucks. And you already know Bitcoin has not returned to that ever since. Well, again, hold your breath on this one, but I'd say it's for now pretty damn good. Anyways, the one iteration where this did not work out was right here. Actually, we get a blue buy signal on the 26th of December in the year 2019, and this is your last low. This is your prior low right here. Keep in mind, this was not a higher low, so we do have a slight discrepancy between all the other ones. You'll notice that all the other ones were on a higher low structure, by the way, before getting the signal. Anyways, this one does get an initial pretty damn good move, to be fair. I mean, from next higher low right here to next major high, 50% move. But your black swan event happens, again referencing that little Twitter post that we saw earlier, and dump it all to hell. Anyways, scrolled it a little bit further back than that. Where is our prior iteration to that? Let's actually get rid of this for right now too. We see it right here, 9th of January in 2019. I actually remember this one rather well. Where's your last major low within this region? Well, it's quite literally here, about 3,200 bucks. And while Bitcoin does come down and actually test, somewhat around it, about it's just 3,300 or 3,350 right there, which at this price point was about a 5% move, to be fair. That was the next major macro low before never returning to it ever again, actually. And if we scroll back a little bit further, we have to go all the way back to 2016 to find the next one. That was coming in right here on the 29th of August in the year 2016. Where's your last major low before that? I mean, you could say right here, you could say right here. They're pretty much one and the same to me. And what happens after that? The next local low is also a higher low, and off to the races again, never to be returned until, well, so far. Then we can go a little bit further back in the history of Bitcoin to find the next one. Now we actually have a slew of them right here, but you'll notice that they're actually all pretty much the same. We do get a blue buy signal right here. We actually have multiple. In fact, we get two right here, pretty much in succession. The prior low right here, 220 and some odd change, was the macro low before never returning to it again. And again, your next higher low right here is, well, is probably one of the best trades of all time. In fact, now we do come down relatively close to it right on over here. But I would say that this is actually not consistent amongst other exchanges from what I remember. And if we do look at this from a nice horizontal perspective, we actually can see that this really did not break below, to be fair. But this would actually be another counterpoint, in fact. So maybe I do take 1 point off that. But again, this is generally speaking pretty damn good. And this was a little bit early in Bitcoin's history. So I do still think that it does more or less count, so to speak. Anyways, this one over here, same thing. This one over here, same thing. These slew of lows, I would actually say that all of these blue buy signals right here should really be measured off of this low right here, and then that actually does hold true once again. Now you could say that, maybe I'm making an excuse for this one. Again, make the decision for yourself, but when you see this many in succession with each other, I'd go with the prior major one. And this one over here, same thing, of course, blue buy signal, and where's your last major low before that? Right here. Higher low after that does not, actually is just below that prior, this next one right on over here, so that still does hold true as well. Then we have to go back a little bit further on top of that to find the next one. That's going to take us all the way back to 2013, way the hell back on over here. And what do you know? We get it in 8th of February. My OCD, 7th of February is giving me anxiety right now. And what happens from this price point? Well, the prior higher low in this whole iteration was right around, I'd say right around here. Actually, you could maybe argue that it's right around here. We're kind of splitting hairs right now. More importantly, holds true once again. Bitcoin never comes back to that ever since that date. Anyways, the one prior to that was way the fuck back on over here once again. And what do we see? This is 19th of June in the year 2012. Prior low was right here. Actually, we never ever closed below that ever on a daily ever again. Same thing on this one over here. Again, going all the way back to 2011. And this is, and again, we kind of have like another two lot right here. I would say that they're pretty much one and the same, similar to what we saw in 2014 as well in 2015. And what happens? Well, the prior higher low, which is just extremely sloppy right here, it's like going to be right here, I'd say, never gets tested, or I mean, you could argue that it gets tested, but we never closed below it on a daily, more importantly, ever again. And this was just so you know, about 3.25, by the way, 3.25. So very, 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 very good, very, 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 very good track record over the almost 12, 13-year history of Bitcoin now. And what do you know? Do we have a blue buy signal on the hash ribbons indicator as of this current moment in time? No, actually, in fact, it's literally impossible at this exact moment, as we are still within the recovery phase. So not happening today, not happening tomorrow, not even happening this week. Most likely it's going to take some time for these guys to convert on themselves, and then once we get across, we will have the potential to put in a blue buy signal. So until that happens, no talks of macro low in at all whatsoever as far as I'm concerned. Okay, what's the next biggest thing that I'd be looking for in order to denote a potential macro low in, assuming that this condition is first met? So this one kind of unlocks the next one, if you will. And it would be this right here. It would be just quite literally the daily trend, something incredibly simple. I assume that pretty much anyone who spent even just like a couple weeks learning anything about price action can very easily get this. And that would be, I want to see at the very least, at the very fucking least, a higher low on the daily. No lower time frame than that. Could you use a higher time frame than that? Perhaps you could. Yes. I mean, it's going to be, you know, a little bit better to be fair, but I do think that the daily is a good kind of interim for that. And what do you know? Do we have a higher low on the daily as of right now? We actually potentially could be putting in a higher low right here if Bitcoin does pop back above, let's call it yesterday's high, which was about 34,250 or so. I'd really want to see Bitcoin get back above about $35,000 before I entertain the possibility of Bitcoin even, you know, having a nice move to the upside here, back up to like 40, maybe even $45,000. But with that in mind, for what it's worth right now, this is certainly not a confirmed higher low. If it is going to be confirmed a higher low, it would be in relationship to this low right here, obviously. And that would be, again, assuming that we do close this next daily or the next 2 days above about $35,000. As of right now, it is not in place. We are quite literally on a downtrend on pretty much every time frame that matters. So take that with a grain of salt, of course. This next one, or should we even go over this? No, I think that one rather speaks for itself. Again, it's going to be kind of working synergistically with the hash ribbons indicator as well, of course, because that obviously implies that we're already within the context of an uptrend. And that's actually really where I would say the maximum amount of potential, the maximum potential best entry would be, you know, somewhere around there, at least for myself. Again, not for any other reason than it would just be very, very easy to manage risk on a position like that. Because if you do buy, you know, essentially this area right here, assuming that this will be a higher low, which it is not right now, just saying. But if we did confirm it as it, then you know exactly where your risk is, and you know you played the position, or at least I would play the position. Again, not financial advice. Anyways, moving on to the last one, and actually, this one is probably one of the most important ones as well. But the thing is that we can't expect that this one is going to work on its own. So again, just like the trend, the daily trend right here, we need to see the first two already operating in succession, or at least the first one with the hash ribbons indicator. This one, this next one that I'm going to talk about, and also the daily trend, they can kind of come, you know, together essentially, or I don't really care about order right there. And that would be our BBWP, our volatility based indicator. And what do we want to see? We want to see it do a couple of things here, of which this one's probably the most mature one as of right now. And what are those few things? What I want to see is I want to see the BBWP get all the way on the floor after doing a few other things. I want to see it first get to 100 percentile. We actually did get just about a couple months ago in middle of May. That was on your 65,000 to 30,000 dump-ola or so. That kind of sets up the stage, and then I want to see it trend down over the course of 2 to 3 months to where it gets, you know, in the single digits at the very least, and preferably as close to zero as possible. And in this case right here, we are, for reference, actually getting down to about 1.98 percentile on yesterday, I believe it was. No, 2 days ago. This was the 9th of July, actually. Anyways, we can go over a few examples with this as well. We need to find some downside examples, obviously, and the last major one that we had was way the hell back on over here. This was in your coronavirus dump times. Obviously, we hit 100 percentile, and then it trends down, and actually in a very similar signature to what we see right now as well. Although price action doing a completely different thing, you know, margin itself just grinding its way back up, but we'll just ignore that for right now. You can see that it grinds itself down, and as soon as it gets down to this pretty much a zero read right here, I mean, it's for all that it's worth, it is a zero read as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it quite literally is a zero read, actually. That's at the point when Bitcoin really does get its macro assault to the upside going. Now, you could argue that it was going on from right on over here. I'd say that this is going to be less impactful, obviously. We want to see this get the lower, the better, essentially. The lower, the better. You can kind of look at it as like winding up a fucking spring. And the more that you wind it up, aka the lower that this goes, the bigger that the result is typically going to be in the longer form consolidation that you're looking at. So if you're familiar with Wyckoff terms, that just means that we are building up a very, 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 very big cause to lead to a very big explosive event. Anyways, can we get another example other than that? Again, the BBWP is, of course, direction neutral. So we will see several examples to the upside right there where we hit 100 percentile. But the last time that we hit 100 percentile to the downside was way back on over here when Bitcoin dropped the $6,000 floor all the way down to 3,100 in 2018, 2019, of course. We hit 100 percentile all on the way down. And then as you can see, over the course of about 3 to 4 months in this case, we see, you can just look at the moving average on this, it just slowly grinds its way down until we get all the way down to, in this case, 2.78 percentile. So we're actually getting even lower than what we are currently at as of a couple days ago. And that led into your just massive macro explosion, basically from 4,000 to 14,000 bucks. Okay, cool. So I think that one kind of speaks for itself. Again, I would strongly suggest that you do see this in how it operates on your own as well. Is there anything else that I want to get to? Can we look at a little bit of short-term price action? Yeah, well, I guess we can do that. Why not, man? It's kind of boring today. I did upload a short very early today. And what are we looking at right here? An hourly range. We got 33.3 to the downside versus about 34,000 bucks to the upside. Our momentum also is giving any sort of a natural bias right now. Slightly, but I would say that this is not good enough for me to trade. If we're looking at the hourly, by hourly, 3 hour and 4 hour, they're all kind of coming back into neutrality right here. So realistically, what I want to see right here from Bitcoin in the short term, and this has nothing to do with the prior analysis, by the way. Well, I mean, they are kind of related, just being that it is the same asset, but we're talking about different time frames right now. We're not talking about a fucking monthly, weekly. We're talking about a goddamn hourly right now. In a 4 hour. Anyways, as of right now, it's a little bit sideways neutral. I don't really look at any of this as too playable myself. If we do see an hourly close to say below about 33,000 bucks, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to retest around the lows of 32,000 bucks from last week. Maybe even drop down to this blue box territory between 31 and 31,500. More importantly, I would be looking for a bit of a bounty from there. Bless you, sir. And then perhaps we could talk about, macro downside targets, of which they're still going to be, very much in line. I mean, 25,000 bucks, 20,000 bucks are certainly within the cards. But as we did see, the last hash ribbons buy signal did happen at about 17,000 bucks. So I would feel quite confident going over the history of Bitcoin, saying that we probably do not see any sort of a daily closure below there. Maybe I eat my words on that one, but that would be the historical value of that. So even if you are looking for major downside from this region, I do think, probably at most, maybe just below 20,000 bucks. Then again, famous last words, right? Okay, anyways, to the upside, we should talk about this as well. Either a 4 hour closure above the 55 in this case, you could just say 34,000 bucks, or an hourly above, this is an hourly. Or let's just say an hourly, on new highs right here as well. And I would be looking for Bitcoin to pop back up to the top side of the range. Anywhere between about 34,800 to 35,000 bucks would look good to me. That's actually at the very interesting area, in my opinion, for Bitcoin long term. The reason why I say that is because Bitcoin's been getting rejected from the yellow 20-minute exponential average on the daily for quite some time now. We spent a little bit of time above right here, but that was your thus far major bull trap. And as long as we are below that, it is obviously pressured down. That also implies that if Bitcoin can start to regain this moving average, and more importantly, not just close above it like we saw right here and here, but the classic sort of notion with this is you want to see an open and close above it, then I would be looking for Bitcoin to slingshot back up to the 55 in this case, which unfortunately has been coming down pretty fucking hard. So it used to be right around 40,000 bucks. Now it's actually below 38. So that's just the market kind of grinding itself down. This is also going to be essentially consistent with the volume profile, as you can see as well. It's a little bit higher than that at about 35.9 or so. But as long as we're below this area right here, there's really no talks of like even a bigger rally than, than 35,000 bucks essentially. So bless you again, sir. Anyways, if Bitcoin is to take out this area right here, I would look for a rather quick move to the 55, probably a pullback from there. And then Bitcoin fills out the top side of this space somewhere around 39 to 40,000 bucks, and probably does mount an assault, as we have been suggesting, is still within the realm of possibilities in between, somewhere between about 45,000 bucks or 50,000 bucks. That's still kind of a bull trappy-ish area to myself. But if we were to see the three signals that we spoke about earlier, three signals that we spoke about earlier, I would be looking to buy the pullback from that potential trappy area, which assumedly would make a higher low anywhere above like the low $30,000 territory. So that's what I do think is probably still best case for BULAs. Again, if BULAs are going to pull through here without dropping out the $30,000 low, essentially, I would be looking for this to take some time. It's probably going to take another month and a half to 2 months. And again, that can come with a move up to mid, even deep $40,000 territory and come back down and base around here. For right now, this is AIDS tier price action. So for what it's worth, I'm not trading this right now. What I'm waiting for is the obvious trade, and with volatility indicators so low on a lot of higher term timeframes, I do think that, at least for myself, it's more pro to be waiting for the explosive nature of that and trade the easy trade, as I don't have access to options right now. If you do have access to options, then this is actually a beautiful environment right here. So with that said, I'm gonna cut off the video right there. We're 20 minutes into it. Do we want to go back on over into the programs? We can just briefly talk about this for a second. I guess this video is a little bit on the shorter side, so good. All right, so we got a sale going on. Again, here's all our programs right here. I would say specifically with the TA program and the options program, which is typically, I think, what people are looking for if they want to learn technical analysis and in options. Understand that these are very, 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 very long programs. They're also a big financial commitment. I wanted to kind of make them in the same way that I wish I had like a college class for this, because I mostly wasted my time in college. All the other programs and indicators are a little bit more self-explanatory. Again, there are videos that accompany them, kind of explaining them as like a promotional video, and same thing with these as well. But I just want to make sure that you understand that they're still going to require a lot of work from your own side, of course. I mean, there's no fucking magic pill, obviously, and anyone who's trying to sell you on that is rather questionable, I would say. But more importantly with that, understand that, especially for the TA program, now that it's been around for about 3.5 years, I think, I would say that on average, for the people who really put the effort in and actually are going to be successful, which actually is like a pretty decent amount of people now, it takes about a year to a year and a half from what I've seen. About a year to a year and a half. Some people a little bit more, some people a little bit less. For reference, when I was first learning trading, it took me about a year and a half to 2 years actually to be like consistent and feel like confident too. Not that you need confidence, but it will naturally come after having consistency. Anyways, with that said, I'll leave you off right there. We'll be back on tomorrow with some more live stream analysis, assuming that no major issues happen. And I salute you and I wish you well. Take care, and until next time.